Good evening and welcome back to Cannon Chatter TV. I'm G Talks Arsenal. I'm your temporary host for tonight. We will be joined by Stephen. He's just been caught up with some daddy duties. So fitting that yesterday was Father's Day. So yeah, he's just caught up with some daddy duties. But he will be joining us hopefully as soon as possible. But I'll be kicking off tonight's show in the meantime. And obviously, welcome back to episode 5 of the Rumour Mill, where we will be obviously, talking about all things Arsenal in terms of transfer rumours. But first of all, just want to introduce the ever-present, Cannon Chatter team member, the lovely Lottie. How are you doing today, Lottie?
I'm good, G. I'm a little tired from watching football and things, but I'm all right. I'm good. I haven't spoken about rumours in a week, so I'm ready to go. I've refused to talk about it until now. So,
yeah, you've literally kind of made a point of kind of, not discussing it, not talking about it, staying clear of it and kind of focusing on England.
It's just that, I know some people absolutely love the drama of it, but I just can't cope with it. And I'm thinking, no, step away.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a bit carried away with Rodrigo de Paul. Sorry,
Rodrigo de Paul.
Yeah, I got carried away with that, and I thought I'm not getting sucked in again. Can't do it. I mean, he's just signed a record signing for Atletico Madrid. I'm not watching Series A anymore. I'm watching La Liga next season. So
yeah. Cool. Well, I think what we'll do is obviously before we run the intro video and we'll get into it, obviously because Stephen's been slightly delayed, we won't jump straight into our transfers and we'll see if he can join us. We'll probably speak a little bit about the Euros, a little bit about England's game tomorrow. And then if needs be, we'll press ahead with some of the transfers that we've been linked with. But just want to shout out all the dads watching. Whether you're watching live or whether you're watching at a later date or later time, happy Father's Day to you all. Obviously it was yesterday, but shout out, all you dads that are doing your thing. Big yourselves up. But yeah, we'll run the intro video and then we will get started.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's
So yeah, good evening everyone. And like I said, any of you that are tuning in now, I'm only going to be a host temporary tonight. Stephen will be joining us. He's just doing some daddy duties at the moment, so hopefully he'll be joining us soon. Just want to say a big, hello to everybody who's watching. Please do, say hello in the comments. So, just some quick ones here. Hi, Georgina. We've got Keith. Evening. Here we go. Some real good comments in there coming through. So yeah, we're literally going to be slightly different to our usual, Rumour Mill show. We'll focus a little bit on the England game ahead of tomorrow until Stephen joins us. So at the moment, I don't know about you, but I feel like it's almost like a balancing act. It's like, the focus is obviously transfers. The focus is obviously the Euros because you've got like 3 or 4 games on at any given time. But yeah, how are you enjoying the tournament itself in terms of the Euros?
Do you know what? I am actually enjoying it for a change. I mean, I'm one of these. I love my football, but I'm not one to watch international breaks.
Yeah,
I just can't do it. It's boring. If there's a competition, I'll watch it, but can't do it otherwise, I'm afraid. But I know I'm enjoying it. I think my favourite 2 teams at the moment to watch is Italy and Wales. Yeah. I mean, Wales are definitely surprised. Surprised us, especially. It's nice to see Aaron Ramsey back in form as well. Definitely. But I still don't want him back. Still don't want him back. But Italy are still sitting in second gear for me. I don't know what you think, G, but they haven't been challenged yet in my eyes.
Yeah, it's I never really get excited about international football. Like the kind of international breaks, the friendlies, I think I was a lot more passionate about international football when I was younger. As I've got older, I just think in general, I watch less football. When I was younger, I watched La Liga, the French League One. I watched Serie A, Football Italia. For those of you around my age or maybe a bit older, you'd remember Football Italia. And I was watching it on a black and white TV, because that's what my dad had at the time when we was growing up, which wasn't always fun to know who was who. But I watched a lot more of international football, a lot more football around Europe. Whereas as I've got older, I've kind of just focused on Arsenal. So for me, is I never really get excited when these tournaments are approaching. However, I do get sucked in, obviously, because we do love football. And then all of a sudden, it's like the Premiership's over. Yes, we've got the whole transfer window, but it's like you said, sometimes it can get a little bit repetitive with the transfers, particularly when we haven't actually signed anybody as of yet. And I'm in a good position where I'm working from home, so I've got the TV right here to my my right hand side, so I can just have the football on, which I've got now. Finland versus Belgium, and it's a really good opportunity.
What's the score on that? Sorry,
the score's 0-0. The score's 0-0.
I need Belgium to win. Sorry.
Yeah. But no, I get sucked in. I start to really enjoy it. But obviously, from an England perspective, I'm trying really hard this time to not get too sucked in and not actually get too carried away. And I must say, so far, I've not really been that impressed for me to even be in a position to get carried away. So, like looking ahead, like in terms of the game tomorrow night. Obviously, we're doing a show, Three Lions, Road to Wembley, guys. So if you haven't seen any of our shows as of yet, we've got 2 up, which we've already done. And our next one will be on Wednesday when we look at, reviewing the game, the result, the ramifications of that game. But in terms of that game, how are you feeling? You feeling confident about us getting a result?
No, I'm looking at a draw. I said this on Albert JTV about an hour ago. We're going to get a draw. Yeah. We've been underwhelming. We've been flat. And I cannot see Southgate starting Grealish, Calvert-Lewin and Foden at the same time. There's no way. I mean, he's already said that Kane's going to start. Mm-hmm. I don't mean to be funny, but his mind is elsewhere. His mind is on that bid from alleged bid from Man City for 100 million.
Yeah.
I'd probably rate him at 85 max. I think that's just ridiculous. There's no way they're going to let him go. But that's where I think he's at. And then there's also the case of, is he actually fully fit, like we talked about in episode 2? I think Sterling's going to start again as well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
With his no-end product, etc. But I think the interesting thing now is we've lost Mason Mount and Chilwell.
Yeah. Yeah, because of the whole...
Who would you bring in, Jake?
With regards to COVID. It's one of those. Would you bring
Henderson back in? Yeah. I wouldn't. No.
It's almost like I say. I think we've kind of touched upon it. I think that the England side is there's a real imbalance with regards like the England side. It's like you look up top and you think to myself. I said in the last show that in terms of me going back slightly before I touch upon the kind of starting 11, I'm confident we will get a result if England are playing the way this team should play. In terms of, I was having this conversation with Stephen, and I said, on paper we've got a really good side, and he said, football's not played on paper, and it's very true, because when you look at the actual England team, individual for individual, there are some real talented players. I won't go as far as to say, they're all, that we've got a high number of world class players. I think I'd even struggle to say any of them are world class. Because I think sometimes that label is thrown around quite willy-nilly these days in terms of world class. But we have a really good squad, and I think going forward we have some fantastic offensive players. But then when you start to look at the midfield and you start to look at the defensive area, that's when you start to see a little bit a lack of strength in depth. And that's why I say I think there's an imbalance, because I said in the last show that for me, I would completely change the front three. So I would take, I think it was Foden, Kane and Sterling that has been playing. And I think maybe that would be a little bit unfair on Foden, but I think having played 2 games, I think we could easily have him sit out 1 game and then bring him back into the knockout stages. And I would literally go with Saka, Grealish and Calvert-Lewin. I think they're 3 players that have had great seasons. equally for their clubs, whether it be Villa, Arsenal or Everton. And I would just switch it up because I think at the moment it's not quite gelling. It's not quite working with the players. I think it was Mike on the last show said that Saka might be carrying an injury, which is why he wasn't a part of the team. So that's going to cause a problem. But then we've got Sancho who could come in. So for me, I'm really confident we can get a result if the players play to their potential. But I would like to see Southgate mix it up. I think if he goes out with a very similar front three and a very similar, like if he picks, say, 9 of the 11 players that have played in the last match, I'd be quite disappointed, if I'm honest, because I think there needs to be a bit of a shake-up. And I think this is a good match to do it against the Czech Republic, because I've not seen anything from them that would make me think, okay, we need to play a full strength side. And to be honest, what is England's full strength side right now? I don't really know what the best 11 is.
I've not seen it. I mean, I think one of the most ridiculous comments that came out of Southgate's mouth I've heard recently is that Sancho is too inexperienced. We pay him 10 million a year, and he can't even be bothered to renew his BT Sports Pass to go watch him in the Bundesliga. I probably said that wrong, but I don't care.
Yeah,
he's been tearing it up this season,
Yeah.
And for him to say he's inexperienced, I'm okay. What about Jude Bellingham?
Mm-hmm.
Where does that make sense for me? I just can't believe Sancho wasn't even on the bench the other day. I don't know if he was carrying an injury, but it just doesn't make sense to me. He's had a great season. I mean, he's got momentum at the moment. Trippier's got momentum at the moment.
Yeah.
And Sterling's literally invisible at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot he was playing the other day. Now I think about it. I know I complained about him, but I forgot he was playing. I don't hate him. It's just that he's so used to having players like De Bruyne passing him those perfect balls in, and him being in that 8-yard box to get the goals in. He just doesn't have that service when we don't have that kind of player, if that makes sense.
No, definitely.
But the argument for that is that Grealish could be that player.
Yeah.
But he likes his favourites, and we can't do nothing about that. And I think there's a lot of politics going on in that back room.
Definitely.
Because I think if he had his way, I think Sancho wouldn't even be there. Nor would Saka. Yeah. He doesn't like Arsenal players. I've come to that conclusion. Just doesn't.
Cool. Well, look, obviously the game's tomorrow. Look forward to the game. I'll be watching the game. We'll be going live on Wednesday to review it. Probably go into a lot more detail. I've got some really good news. Stephen will actually be joining us now, which is great.
Hey.
I think we can just focus on what we're here to do, which is to talk transfer. So, Stephen,
hey,
here you are.
Evening, everybody. My apologies for only joining in now. As G has said, I had some daddy duties to deal with. Things have been a wee bit crazy here over the weekend. I'm sure some of you seen the post I put out the other day welcoming the new member to Cannon Chatter, our new dog Gunner, and it's been all excitement and all go here. And unfortunately, it's meant the kids haven't wanted to go to sleep just as easily. So just took a wee bit longer tonight than expected. But thank you, G, for filling in there. So quickly before we move on, I have been sitting obviously in the background just listening to that. I didn't really want to jump in while you're talking about the England game because I don't really have much interest in it. But quick score predictions before we move on to the Rumour Mill. So Lottie, score prediction for tomorrow night?
1-1 or any form of draw, to be honest with you. I'm expecting a very bland and defensive game.
Okay. G?
Yeah, like in my in our last show, I went for a score draw. I went for 1-1 or 2-2, but maybe because a few days have passed, I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic. I don't know why. Not that I've seen anything to make me feel that way, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 win.
Okay, excellent. All right, a couple of comments then before we just move on. Southgate been watching Arteta all last season on how to manage and pick his star boys. Well, do you know what? We ran a poll based off a comment on your show the other night. And does any of you have the results there at hand? No?
I can just quickly dig them out.
It was basically asking the question, is there similarities between Arteta and Southgate? So while Lottie's looking up the results, we'll get a couple of these other ones. Mike Grealish might have to play tomorrow because Mason Mount self-isolating. Yeah, true, and hopefully they're, all joking aside, hopefully he's fine and there's nothing to worry about. Keith, don't get me started on politics, tinfoil hat time. Chris, but that's always been the case. Players in the past, like Beckham, were never dropped if they played poorly. Yeah. And another 0-0 draw. Okay. You got the poll results there, Lolly?
Yep. Out of 98 people, 88% of them don't trust Southgate. And I think that's most of the nation, just in general.
Do you trust Southgate? Obviously, it's not in the process.
Yeah. Not a fan.
All right. Well, listen, I suppose I should say good luck to England tomorrow night.
You don't have to, Stephen. You really
don't have to.
I just don't care. It's not that I don't want England to do bad or I want England to do good. I just don't care what to do, to be honest. If Northern Ireland aren't involved, I have no interest.
Yeah.
So, all right. One more comment then. Oh, sorry. Ryan, Saka and Grealish were England's best players before the tournament, and now they don't even get start. Yeah. I'll say very quickly on it. I do hope that maybe Southgate, rotates the team tomorrow night. If you look at Italy the other night, they even subbed on their keeper in the second half. So, it'd be nice to see Southgate do the same sort of thing because, do you know what? Coming second in that group's not the worst thing in the world. And you've talked about that before. So, Reezy J, the people who've spoken, Southgate out. All right. Well, let's move on from that. So, I am back after 2 weeks off. And used to have been holding the fort for the last couple of weeks, and it's been brilliant. So, well done, guys. But I needed to get back on and talk and have a chat about some of these rumours. So obviously it's Monday night, it's the Rumour Mill, it's a roundup of all the latest rumours from the last week for Arsenal. Now, we will try to cover as many as we possibly can. There may be some that we miss, and if there is, come back to us at the end and we'll try to catch up on them. So I always like to start at the back, and hearing rumours today that potentially Leno getting a new deal, which I was a bit surprised at. It's not one I particularly want to happen, and judging by the look on your faces, I don't think something you would be particularly keen on either.
No. Who's going to go first?
Definitely not. G, you can go first.
Okay. Yeah, it's concerning, if I have to be completely honest. I don't want to take away from the fact that he's not a good goalkeeper. And I also want to put it into perspective that, there are a lot of other areas around the pitch that I do think, could be more of a priority. However, given some of the errors that he made last season, given the fact some of his comments, and obviously the fact that we've been linked with, several goalkeepers, I think some of which we're going to cover in tonight's show, it looked as though he was on his way out. And I think what's worrying me at the moment, which I know I've discussed with you guys off air, is that all the players that look dead certain to leave, all of a sudden things are going little bit more quiet. And the rumours are drying up, and the links or the exits out of the club are starting to dry up, and it's all getting a little quiet. Willian has gone quiet. Xhaka, we can't agree a fee. Leno's getting a new contract. Eddie's supposedly been offered a new contract, and I'm just thinking, oh God, like when this clear out that was supposed to happen, is it going to happen? But in terms of Leno, I wouldn't be completely against him staying at the club. But I just feel now would be the right time to cash in on him. And I just feel as though there are options out there in terms of, Matty Ryan, in terms of Onana at Ajax, in terms of some of the others, that we will cover in this show. So, yeah, I'm not thrilled at the idea of him signing a new contract. So, yeah, it leaves me feeling a little bit deflated, if I'm honest, at the idea of him staying.
Okay. Lottie?
I think you might have seen my initial reaction to him staying. I'm not going to repeat the words because we don't swear here, but it was a case of, okay, fine, we'll protect his price, but I really wish we were cashing in on him. I've not enjoyed watching him since Martinez left, and I have said it before, and I will say it again. Everything that is wrong with Leno was highlighted by Martinez the season he left, and that's all. It's all I see now. I've had one game this last season where I could relax, and that was with Matt Ryan in goal. We were winning, and I could relax about it.
Yeah, the thing with Leno, he never fills you with confidence. He's a good keeper, and I've always said that he's a good keeper. He's not what we thought we were getting. He's not world class, but he never fills you with confidence. And you always just worry when the ball's passed back to him that he's going to crumble under the pressure. He's got better with his feet, but he's still not up to the sort of standard that we would need, and especially for the style of play that we want to play with, playing out from the back. He worries me.
I think also
I'm sorry, Matt Ryan should take the number 1. Yeah. Okay.
I think he's one of those Germans that's lost the German attitude as well. German players come along with that big, massive attitude, and he hasn't got it. He's a bit of a wuss, personally.
Yeah. What it is with Leno is that at the back, even though we are improving defensively, it's like I still think obviously Gabriel's first season in England is a bit raw. Saliba's coming back, potentially Ben White, etc. We don't have a massively experienced centre back pairing, and also the back four has not really been if Bellerin being off this season, Tierney obviously at left back, it's going to be a whole brand new back four. So I'm just thinking, what we do need is we need somebody reliable between the sticks. We need somebody who's going to be really commanding and is going to fill those guys in front of him with confidence. And he doesn't feel, if we're sitting here every time the ball comes to his feet and we're sitting at home threatening what could or what couldn't happen. Can you imagine? We've all played football, to some degree. You know what that feels like when you can't trust the guy behind you or a guy next to you in your defense. So yeah, I'm feeling underwhelmed at the thought of him staying. If I'm completely honest,
I think the thing is, if Leno is staying, that would explain the sort of the links to these next couple of players we're going to look at. I think if Leno's going, it's fairly clear that Onana is the one that we're going to be going for. Sort of 7-8 million being touted for Onana, which I think it's a bargain price. The only difficulty then is he can't play until November.
November 3rd.
You can start to train from September. So we have been linked in the last week with a couple of English goalkeepers, and the rumour is that obviously we want an English goalkeeper for the homegrown quota. And as I say, my only thought is that if we're being linked with these guys, it's as a number 2, because neither of them would inspire me with confidence as being a number 1 goalkeeper. So the first one we'll look at is this guy who is Aaron Ramsdale, who is at Sheffield United currently, formerly of Bournemouth. And obviously Sheffield United got relegated this season. However, is Ramsdale currently in the England squad at the Euros?
Yep. Yes, he is.
He is. Doesn't necessarily say an awful lot about the quality of the English keepers right now. That Pickford's number 1 and this guy is your second or third choice as national goalkeeper, and he's just got relegated with the worst squad in the Premier League. The money they're talking is sort of about 20 million rumoured for Ramsdale, and I just would not want to see us spending 20 million on this guy, personally speaking. G, what's your thoughts? Would you want them?
You know what? I try to be as fair as possible, and I think sometimes as Arsenal fans and just football fans in general, we tend to get linked with a player, and sometimes we look at the club rather than the actual player. In the first instance. So if you're linked with a player from Fulham, automatically they've got to be rubbish. If we're linked with a player from Sheffield United, automatically they're not good enough. And for me, like you said, in the kind of introducing him, for me, if we sign Ramsdale, it would be as a number 2. I can't see him, I can only see his purpose being to kind of provide competition for the number 1 top. But yeah, it's one of those difficult ones where when I look at the fee, in terms of like 20 million pounds, I'm just thinking to myself, I would rather just sign Matt Ryan and Onana for less than 10 million. it just doesn't really make sense. And I just think, you know, with the kind of scouting network a club of Arsenal's size will have, surely we can find a player of equal quality to Ramsdale somewhere else in Europe or South America or somewhere. For me, I just can't legitimize spending £20 million on him. Having said that, you know, when you watch him, you know, he's got some quality. He has some quality. I've seen him, you know, I've seen him kind of here and there. You know, when we were planning this show, I kind of went away and watched him, you know, in some clips, a kind of review of his season. And it's hard to judge him as well because he's playing for Sheffield United, you know, so you got to take that into account as well. You know, he's got a horrendous defense in front of him. No disrespect to the professionals that they are, but they conceded so many goals. They've been relegated. And, you know, he's obviously, the stats are not really you can't really look at stats because they're just going to get peppered week in, week out. So it's kind of hard to judge him also, you know, with the players and the squad that is in front of him. But I do see some quality in him, but I only see him as a squad player, unfortunately, for me. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Lottie, quickly, what's your thoughts on him?
Do you know what? I literally echo what G said. I mean, I looked up his stats today, and they're not even a pretty sight to see. I mean, out of 38 appearances, he's conceded 63 goals. And like he's only saved 25% of his penalties, and he's had 5 clean sheets all season. So it doesn't really interest me. He has just signed a new 4-year deal, so no, it's a no from me.
Well, the other one then we're linked with is a young man who belongs to Newcastle but won the Golden Glove in the Championship last season, playing for Swansea, and that is Freddie Woodman. Now, his dad was a goalkeeping coach at Arsenal, and apparently had a bit of a fallout with Leno and got the boot over it. So he's no longer with the club, which may put a bit of a dampener on it, but there's talk that Woodman could be potentially used as a bit of a make-weight for Willock to go to Newcastle on a permanent deal. For me, I would take him. You know, I think he's a much better keeper than Ramsdale, personally. I think, you know, he's young, but he's got a lot of potential. I think we've seen that last season with Swansea, and, you know, you get him as part of a deal for Willock plus money. Reasonable backup keeper for Onana. You know, for me, I think that's a good deal. Lottie, what's your thoughts on Freddie?
I'd say an absolute bargain. I mean, he had, 20 clean sheets last season and conceded about 38 goals. So in my book, yeah, I'd have him as a backup for Onana, as long as we sell Leno.
Yeah. Okay. Jay?
Yeah. Again, I think it's really hard to kind of judge, you know, goalkeepers because it's like when they're playing in, you know, a particular team, again, you know, there's the bias of they must not be good because they play in the Championship or they play for a certain club. But, you know, having seen him play, he definitely knows how to save a penalty from what I've seen. Some really, really impressive penalty saves. So that was good. A lot of one-handed saves. The only thing that I worry about him is just looking at him from what I've seen, he looks not, you know, not to say he looks small, because he's probably towers over me, but I don't really see a presence, and you know, maybe that will come, you know, as he gets older and he matures. You know, in terms of a goalkeeper, he's a baby. You know, goalkeepers can play well into their late 30s, but you know, I see the energy. I see him kind of like, you know, reactions brilliant. You know, he seems to be quite assured. He seems to make the right decisions at the right times from what I've seen. But yeah, I'm just looking at him in terms of his stature, and I don't know whether he's got the presence that's needed for us, particularly with our kind of inexperienced back four. But as a number 2, providing competition with a, you know, high ceiling in terms of, you know, potential, definitely could, you know, I definitely would welcome the signing, but definitely not a number 1 for me at this time.
Yeah, no, as I say, I don't think either of those 2 guys are being looked at as number 1s. I think it is very much the idea of a homegrown backup keeper. And then obviously we can bring up one of the guys from the under-23s to be the 3rd keeper, with potentially Runnerson going out on loan because I think it's pretty obvious, he's just not going to cut it. So either out on loan or sell Rumourson. Okay, if you haven't done already, make sure to hit that like button. It all helps. Okay, bit of good news this week coming out of the club, and it was confirmed over the weekend by Chris Wheatley that everybody's hero, Kieran Tierney, has agreed a new 5-year deal with the club, on rumour to be about £110,000 a week, which, when you consider 2 years ago when he left Celtic, he was on 25,000 a week, is a massive jump. But you know what? He deserves every penny of it for me. And I think it's potentially one of the best bits of business that Arsenal will do this summer is getting this man tied down for the next 5 years. G, what's your thoughts? Are you happy to see Tierney sign on again?
Yeah, just absolutely fantastic news. What's important is obviously we get rid of a lot of this deadwood. It's really important we bring in new players, but it's so important that we get the good players and the potential world-class players that we've got to commit. And he's one of them. He's one of them that we need to build around. He's one of them that we can't afford to lose. So the news of him signing a contract is music to everyone's ears. He's just a top bloke. He's good at what he does in terms of playing football. He gives everything on the pitch, and I remember, although I knew how he played, and I watched him a couple of times for Scotland and and Celtic, etc. But even when he was signing for Arsenal and just his interviews, the way he comes across just as a person, as an individual, just so kind of humble and down to earth. He's got all the attributes in terms of sporting ability, in terms of personality. That just makes him just an all-round top bloke, and I'm glad he's staying, and hopefully he will be our captain, if not next season, in a couple of seasons, because he's got that real leadership quality that we need. So I'm glad he's sticking around.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Charles Watts come out and say that he believes that certainly by at least halfway into that 5-year deal that Tierney will be captain. I certainly think if not next season, the following season he'll be captain. I do think that with the likes of Xhaka, Bellerin, all potentially moving on, David Luiz moving on, that he will be, more than likely he'll be a vice captain this season. I don't know what Arteta is like, whether he has that sort of group of 5 that Emery talked about, but I certainly think he'll be in the shout of being a vice captain this season if he's not captain. Because obviously Laka as well, there's another one potentially could be going, from that sort of list of guys who play vice captain or are vice captain. And Holding may not get as many games, obviously, if we're looking at bringing in Ben White. So, Lottie, your thoughts?
Exactly what Keith said. I'm sorry, that's on the screen. No, it will be a crime if he doesn't get it in the next season or two. I mean, we've been missing that leadership for a long time, and I think he's one of our best buys in years. Forget Aubameyang. I love Tierney. I think he's definitely one of our SG Georgina. Brilliant. My thoughts exactly, but yeah, I'm just ecstatic that we're keeping him. I mean, he is the best left back in the league. Forget Luke Shaw.
Yeah, as I say, I mean, for me, I think it's one of the best bits of business we'll do this summer. Liam Gardner, welcome to the channel. Has to be vice captain at the very least. Personally, would give him the armband now. Yeah, I mean, I would as well. It's the only sort of risk with giving him the armband is how Oba reacts to it. And we've said that before. It's how he reacts. But yeah, I think certainly fantastic news, and hopefully we'll be able to back it up with some trophies and make him happy, because he's a serial winner. And let's get some trophies for him and keep him at the club for the rest of his career. Okay, next one we'll look at is potentially another outgoing at the club. This guy who's never really had a chance, who's Konstantinos Mavropanos, a Greek international who came in under Wenger. I think he was scouted and brought in by Sven Mislintat, and was potentially the next big star of the future. And he's never really had a chance. He had a couple of games for Arsenal. I remember one obviously against United where he had a particularly good game. But other than that, he's never really been given the opportunity and has spent most of his career out on loan. Rumours that he could be going to Stuttgart on a permanent deal for 7 million. Lottie, I mean, do you think it's a fair valuation, or do you think we're underselling him just to get rid of him? I
think Stuttgart's most record signing is 9.5. So for them, I think 7 is enough for him. I mean, we've seen him 7 times, and I think the game I most remember was the one with the red card. He lost his temper, and that kind of made me concerned. But from what I've seen at Stuttgart, he looks like the perfect fit. I mean, if we definitely sell him, if we're bringing in someone like Ben White, because as we've discussed before, we need at least 5 at the back, like as in rotation at the back.
Yeah. G, do you think 7 million's too little?
I kind of feel like we can't really demand more than that, because it's almost like he joined the club, and he's kind of just been in the wilderness ever since. I actually feel like he's not really been treated fairly, to be honest. I don't think he's really been given an opportunity, because I'm gonna echo exactly what you said, Stephen. But also, take on board what you said, like with regards to the red card. But with regards to some of his performances, I think it was a performance at Old Trafford, I believe, and he was a man of the match performance. For me, there is a clear quality defender in there, and in terms of his performances, in the Bundesliga at Stuttgart, they can't get enough of him. So a part of me thinks I can't, it's clear that he's not going to have a future at Arsenal. Personally, I don't think we can really demand more than 7 million. Do I think he's worth more than 7 million in this market? Yes, I do. I think really and truly, I think had the situation been handled a little better, I think we probably could have got double that, if not a little bit more. Because I think there is a good defender in there, but for whatever reason, and we don't know the ins and outs of everything that's going on behind the scenes. So there could be various reasons as to why he's never really settled. But yeah, a part of me feels a little bit for the lad. I don't think he's really been given a fair shout at Arsenal. So if he does move on, I wish him all the best, because I think he's a good defender.
Okay. Keith, agreeing with you there, totally agree, G. We just didn't see enough of him. Gnabry Mark II. And Chris saying that he's the Greek Joel Campbell. Yeah. For me, it's kind of thinking about it. He hasn't had a fair crack, but there's obviously something there that he played for Wenger, he played for Emery, and he's played for Arteta, in the sense that he's had his opportunity in pre-season to impress them, and none of them have really been that taken with him. And in reality, apart from Aubameyang, really, how many of the Sven Mislintat players have we got left? That he scouted for us. Was Mislintat up to the mark? I know a lot of people sing his praises, but maybe these players just aren't as good as we think. So it's hard to know. AFC Gov, our philosophy in recent years is buy high, sell low. So this fits in that. And with that, yeah. Although to be fair, I don't think we paid that much for Mavropanos.
No.
I can't honestly remember. I may be wrong.
I think it was about like 1.5.
So, okay. Well, obviously then an incoming, and generally up until this point, we've done, this is what, show number 5. We haven't talked about the same player twice, I think, apart from possibly Xhaka as an outgoing. And even on that, I don't really want to talk about Xhaka tonight. It's still a whole thing with Roma as to whether he goes or whether he doesn't go. But we are going to have to start and look at maybe some of these recurring rumours. So one that hasn't gone away, and in fact has picked up an awful lot of pace since last Monday, is Ben White. And from all accounts, this is pretty much a done deal. I was reading earlier on today that, you know, it's potentially done and all agreed and will be announced, obviously, once his participation in the Euros is over. So they could announce that tomorrow because he hasn't played a game and he probably won't play a game in the Euros. So, you know, his participation is pretty much over. I think it's a lot of money. You know, I know you guys talked about this last Monday night, so I'm not going to give you too much time on it, no offense. But I wasn't on to sort of say my piece. And it's a lot of money. I think it's an English tax, as we'll call it. 45 to 50 million pound for a player coming from Brighton. No disrespect to Brighton, but you know, he had a season at Leeds where he played well in the Championship and helped them get out of the Championship. And then he goes and plays a season at Brighton where he looked one of their best players. But again, you know, aside from Basuma, they didn't really have many other wonderful players. And yet even the Brighton fans are saying, well, you know, why is no one going for Dunk? Because Dunk's a better defender. I think Ben White is better with the ball at his feet. You know, he's more of a ball-playing defender. And I think the big thing for a lot of fans, and I think we need to talk more about it, is what it means for Saliba. And I've seen, you know, a lot of people saying, oh, if we sign him, then, you know, Arteta hits Saliba and Saliba will be sold and all this. And I don't think that's for 1 second. I think, you know, we need quality. And we need quality players all over the pitch, and we need quality on the bench. Now, I can't see us spending 45, 50 million for this guy to come and sit on our bench. But the other thing with, you know, Saliba is he went to what we call the Farmers League. You know, we're all very quick to criticize the French league when, you know, other teams are buying players from it. But we sent him to the Farmers League where, yes, he did well, but he still made mistakes. He still can't head a ball, you know, so he's going to get exposed in an Arsenal backline, and he's still only 19. You know, Ben White's, 23, 24. He has that bit more experience. So, I mean, I think he's still young enough that he could be a leader for this team for a long time. But he's old enough and mature enough to be able to then bring through the likes of Saliba and Gabriel. So I think overall, I think it's a good signing, you know, and I'm not against it. And I've said before, I think if we're willing to spend this much money on a centre defender, that in essence isn't the main place we need to focus for strengthening. I think it shows that we probably have more money than we've ever had to spend. Lottie, thoughts?
I've said it before. I'd have him in a heartbeat. I think he's brilliant. I've enjoyed watching him this season. From what I've seen of him, I think Keith said it last week. His versatility is just incredible.
Yeah. G?
Yeah. It's one of those where sometimes, you know, and I'm going to say it and I'll probably get stick for it, but, you know, I struggle to kind of understand Arsenal fans' rationale sometimes. You know, I know we're all fans and we all have opinions, and you know we're all free to express them. But you know, I think we need to decide what we want as Arsenal fans. You know, do we want our club to go out there and spend money, or you know, do we not? And I just find it really, really puzzling that, you know, the kind of club and the staff and Arteta and you know, kind of coming under criticism for targeting Ben White and potentially paying, you know, this amount of money for him. Look, he's a young English centre-back with a huge amount of potential, who is great with the ball at his feet. And that costs top dollar. Like let's not, you know, let's not try and make it into something else. All those things will warrant that price tag. Is he worth that? No. But there are very few players in today's market across world football that go for what they're actually worth. And if we want to prize away a young English centre back with a huge amount of potential, we're going to have to pay what Brighton want. So I'm not against the transfer. I agree with what you said, Stephen, with regards Saliba, having a lot of potential as well, but not quite being ready. And we can't expect him to just go into the starting 11 and to just produce. I agree with Lottie, I'd take him. And at the end of the day, why are we complaining about adding quality to our squad? Like it just baffles me. So it sounds like it's a done deal. I hope it is, and I think he will be a good addition to the squad. And I think he's a player that, in terms of like his actual potential, 4 years from now, hopefully does well. We can tie him down. If not, it could be worth 80, 90 million. If Harry Maguire can go for 80 million, then I'm sure this kid in a couple of years can go for the same amount. So yeah, no, I'm a fan. I think he's good, and I think he'd fit. I think he fits in well into the system that Arteta wants to play, which is building from the back. So yeah, I'm a fan of the guy, and hopefully he signs.
Okay. We've lost Lottie for a minute. That's okay, because the next one we want to talk about is someone that I believe me and Lottie talked about a couple of weeks back, and you weren't on the show, which was another one that potentially looks like it's a done deal. Bear with me. And it's this guy, Sambi Lukongo. He is the captain of Anderlecht at 21 years old, and it's rumoured that we're going to get this deal done for around about 17 million. What's your thoughts on him?
I have to be completely honest. Until Henri spoke about him on Twitter, I didn't have a clue who he was. I don't watch the Belgium league. I don't particularly watch Anderlecht. So for me, I had no idea who he was. However, obviously, like all players, if they are linked to Arsenal and strongly linked as he is, because this looks like it's a done deal, I've looked into him. I've done some research, into him as a player, and you know what? He just looks like an all-round player. He seems to have everything, and I don't want to get carried away, but for me, he's a box-to-box midfielder, because I can see him equally being good in the defensive half of the pitch as well as the offensive half. So, I see him, he seems to be strong. He seems to be able to pass a man. He seems to be able to, play a key pass. He gets stuck in, and he's captain at 21. And regardless of what league you play in, if you're captain at 21, that shows you've got that, you've got something about you, because there will be players that are a lot older than him that have been at the club a lot longer. And most teams would have, your kind of, at least mid-20s to kind of, early 30s or maybe even older. That would be the kind of player that you'd make captain. So for him to be in a squad of players where, the average age is a lot older than him, and he's been given that responsibility, I think that says a lot about him in terms of his character. So what I've seen of him, he seems to have everything in terms of a midfield. There doesn't seem to be anything he can't do or he can't do well. And the fact that he's captain, he's got those leadership skills. I think if we can pick him up, it's low risk. In this market, if you can pick somebody up for 15 to 17 million, it's a bargain all day at his age. So for me, just similar to the whole Ben White situation, yeah, he's young. He's got a lot of potential, and from what I've seen, I really like the look of him. And hopefully, he and Ben White will be joining the club, over the next couple of days.
Yeah. Lottie, anything else to add on him?
No. As you said, we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, and I still think he'll really be a good signing. If it's coming from Thierry Henry, so yeah, he's definitely got something about him.
Well, that's it. Georgina's saying there, not heard or seen a lot about him, but if the king has praise for him, it's worth it, right? Ryan saying he's good going forward, but defensively he's a bit suspect. I think obviously that's something that can be worked on. Dobber Ducky, my favourite name. Vincent Kompany picked him as captain. Yeah, do you know what? That says a lot, that if someone of the stature of Vincent Kompany, whether you like Man City or whether you like Kompany or not, you cannot deny that Vincent Kompany was a fantastic defender. And you may not like his personality or whatever, but he was a fantastic defender. Weezy, I feel he won't get any play time, might get loaned out right away. Interesting thought. I don't think so. I think if we're bringing them in, these players are being brought in to build the new squad. I don't think we're going to bring anybody in and loan them out again at the minute, unless they're very, very young going into the under-23 squad. But I can't see us bringing in someone like this who's a captain of his club and loaning them out straight away. We may be wrong, but I just don't see that one. All right. So the next one then that we were being linked with this week is a guy by the name of Jesus Corona, who's a Porto winger, who can also play right back, believe it or not. And he has a £21.4 million release clause and has 1 year left on his contract with Porto. Now, the funny thing with this guy is he was the first person to score in the Portuguese league when it returned after the break from coronavirus, which was quite fitting, seeing the surname's Corona. I've seen a lot of people sort of say, "Oh, that this one would be a great one to get." I think at 28 years old, he's not an orthodox right back, so I can't imagine why we bring him in to play right back. I don't know that he's necessarily good enough to play on the right midfield, right wing. So I'll be honest, having looked at him, he looks a reasonable player, but he's not one that I would be overly excited about. Lottie, what's your thoughts? You're not there. G, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of feel like the same as you, really. I'm just thinking, I'm looking at the forward positions and I'm thinking, if he's playing right wing, I can't see any justification of him, really, of us bringing him in and playing him over Pepe or Saka on that right hand side. So, and for me, if we're gonna go for a right back, which we need, I want him to just be a naturally, gifted defender. In that position. What I have seen of him, he's got a trick or two. He's got good footwork. He's very direct in terms of like running at players and taking on his man. Not massively blown away by his stats. I can't remember what they were, but they were a little bit on the low side in terms of goals and assists. And I think for me, I worry about him potentially transitioning from the Portuguese league to the Premiership at the age of 28. Now, I know 28 is not old. I'm not saying it is, but I don't know where he was before. I don't know if he's played his whole career at Porto, but I'm just thinking to myself, for a position, whether it be right wing, I don't think we need him. Whether it be right back, I think we need a more natural defender. I think even though he's got that clause, I still think it's a lot of money. And looking at the age and the fact that he's got a transition from, the Portuguese league to the Premiership, don't get me wrong, if he's quality, but it kind of just, I don't know, there's a lot of kind of if, buts and maybes for me. I've got my reservations about this one. So it would be a no for me. I just think there are better options out there. And like I said, I'm not completely blown away from what I've seen. I think he's all right. I think he could maybe add a little bit of a competition or dynamic, but nah, not for me. Not completely convinced.
Okay, Lottie disappeared for a minute there. We were coming to you first, but you can have your say now on Jesus Corona. Is he someone you'd be interested in?
I haven't seen much of him, to be fair. Stats wise, he can, as you said, he can play right back and right on the right wing. I mean, he can also play in the right midfield, which is handy. I mean, if AFCON does go on, he could potentially go in that slot. I mean, looking at his stats, I mean, he's had 47 appearances and 10 of those were in the Champions League. And didn't get any goals, but he got 3 assists, which is all right in my book. But I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to watch him some more.
Okay.
If I'm honest.
No worries. Do you know what? Anybody watching live, if you have any comments on him, drop them in. But one thing we'll always say, we do try to do a bit of research for the show. We try to look players up if we're not familiar with them, but we'll always be honest. We're not one of these channels that are going to sit here and blow smoke up a player's backside that we aren't familiar with. And that's the best we can do, is be honest with you and say these are players. Some of these guys that we're linked with are players that we're not overly familiar with. So we're not going to just sit here and pretend that we know. All right, we've still a few more to get through, but I think we'll take a quick break. So don't go anywhere, people. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Just want to take a quick moment to say thank you to our sponsors. As always, we're sponsored by Matchday Shop. And as I always say, if you don't want to spend your money in the club shop and put money into the crunkies pockets, get down to Dan or get onto his site, thematchdayshop.com, and you can spend it on there. Loads of lovely memorabilia and other bits and pieces on there that you can get. And we will soon have the official Cannon Chatter mugs available on there, which will be great. The other sponsor then of these shows, the Rumour Mill, is Sports Bucket Hat, who make lovely custom-made sports bucket hats out of your old shirts. And thankfully, I have one here, which I may need, because me and the guys have come up with a bit of an idea. And what we've agreed with all these footballers at the minute who are bleaching their hair. And I was saying, we were talking the other night, and I was saying about how I'd done it a couple of times when I was a bit younger, a lot younger. And I jokingly said, I'll do it again. So we've agreed. What are we saying, 500? Or we're going for the 1,000?
Don't know. We could go for the 500, the 1,000. I don't know. It depends.
It depends on the time frame.
We'll be fair. We'll go for 500. If we get 500 subs to this channel by the start of the new season, which we know now is the 13th of August, I will bleach my hair. So I will probably need this hat to hide it.
Come on, we got to make it.
Come on, you got to join the blonde club. Look, it's fabulous.
I am.
Bleach blonde.
Yeah.
Bleach blonde club.
So I will go full on bleach blonde if we hit 500 subs by the 13th of August. So make sure if you haven't that you subscribe to the channel now. And yeah.
Brilliant. Love
this. Get sharing, people. Absolutely. Okay. So onwards. Next one then is El Neni rumored to be being offered a new contract. Now, this was something that, again, Chris Wheatley reported on, that he had been in talks sort of mid-March time, and he's waiting for the club to come back to him. Is he someone you'd want to see getting an extension to his contract? Bear in mind, he has 1 year left. Do you want to see him get an extension to the contract?
Who are you going with?
Lolly, you go ahead.
Do you know what? I like my L sideways. I do like him. He only scores worldies, and when they do come out, it's just like they're mind blowing. I mean, I've got a soft spot for him. I am being sentimental about it, but he's Mr. Reliable when we need him, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel that G, but
G.
You know what I mean? I think, at the beginning, when we first actually started doing, Cannon Chatter TV, he was one of the players that I publicly criticized the most. And it's just because I don't really see the quality there. Yeah, for me, it's not the best news. However, there have been examples and situations in the season where he's put in some really, really hard-working performances. And he really does kind of wear his heart on his sleeve. He gives it everything. I just don't think he has the quality in terms of like us moving forward. But I think what I do realize is that Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's probably going to take longer to actually rebuild this squad. So we can't, sell all our players, in one window and get rid of all our players and, in one window. And I think what's clear from him is he's very committed to the club. He loves the club. You see the passion, when he scores. And I think he's quite happy to be a squad player. And every squad needs squad players. You can't have just, fantastic first 11, fantastic, second 11, unless you're Man City, of course. But, so I don't massively, it doesn't fill me with a huge amount of excitement at him signing a contract like obviously Tierney does. That's completely different. But at the same time, I can see the logic behind it. He's a hardworking, great attitude, committed player. And for the time being, having him for a few more years while this kind of rebuild is taking place. He's got international experience. He's been around the block. He's been at the club a couple of years. I can see the common sense behind it. So not thrilled, but it kind of makes sense.
Okay. Chris, agreeing with you. Elneny for me as a squad player, I think in the team brings more of a party. Okay. Just back on the hair thing then, obviously, just for a second.
Yes.
Georgina, love this. Get sharing people. How many do you have now? I think the last time I checked, there was around about 185 or so. We're not the biggest channel, but we have, do you know what? We have loyal friends of the show who support us, and we love you all for it, so thank you.
Yeah.
500 bleach blonde, 1,000 G has to shave his head. Do you know what? It's not really a big deal. I've seen G with a shaved head. You got married with a shaved head, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Shaved head. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
I think if we got 1,000, we could get G to bleach his hair.
Yeah.
You know what? If we get 1,000, I'll do it.
There you go.
Get sharing, people.
I'm officially plugging the out of this channel now. Weezy J, Dan, for one of your t-shirts to show my support. Do you know what? I'm working on it. I'm working really hard on that. Hopefully by this time next week, I should have something sorted out that we can potentially get some of this stuff for sale if people want to buy it. And we will not be making much money off it, and any money we do make will all go back towards helping support the channel and getting more content out there. All right, so we already covered that. So the next one then we want to talk about is someone that has been mentioned before, and again, this was, I think it was last week, it was talked about with you guys, so I didn't really get much of a say on it, which was Maddison from Leicester, and it's reportedly out there that we're looking at him, and it's going to cost probably anything from 60 to 80 million. It's the reports, and do you know what? For me, he's someone I would love to see in an Arsenal shirt. I really do think he's a quality player. He's come a long way. Sorry, Chris, 2,000 Lottie shaves her head.
Sorry, Chris, I already shaved my head. Can I just clarify that? I already do. So,
yeah.
That's not a challenge for me.
I think he means the whole lot.
No. No. That's a no. It takes me too long to grow my hair. No.
So, yeah, James Maddison, definitely someone I'd be interested in. I think, having him and Smith Rowe sort of fighting it out for that number 10 shirt. I think Odegaard's going to stay at Madrid. And I think, if I'm being honest, I'd probably prefer James Maddison. And again, it's that young English player. He's had a couple of injuries, but he's not, people say he's injury prone. I wouldn't say he's injury prone, but he has had a couple of worrying injuries and sort of a sequence of them there in the last couple of seasons. But he's still a fantastic player, and I think he would offer so much to this team. G?
Yeah, you know what? It's like when we get linked to players like Maddison, it's like that's when you really get sucked into the whole transfer window. And for me, he's that perfect number 10 kind of player. I know he's versatile in terms of where he can play, but I'm seeing him potentially coming in and pulling the strings. I can see him in the middle. I think one of the comments was there. Weezy J said it. Saka on the left wing. Maddison in the middle and Pepe on the right wing. Like, come on, that is absolutely, frightening. The thought of those three, him playing through balls to them and their runs, etc. I saw a stat, and I think it was only Kevin De Bruyne. I think it was only Kevin De Bruyne that actually created more chances than him. I think it's something like 230 chances he created over X amount of seasons. So for me, I think if we can make it happen, I don't even care how much it will cost. I'm not going to sit here and just say, like I've said in my other videos, I said I want Arsenal to spend money. I don't really care who owns the club, as long as we spend money and then go, 80 million is too much. Not too much. If we want a quality player, we're going to have to pay the money for it. So, and I'm not going to, if we sign James Maddison for 80 million, I'm not going to lose any sleep because it's 80 million. It's not my money. I don't care. Will he improve Arsenal? Instantly. He improves that starting 11 instantly. So for me, it's a no-brainer. If we can get it done, whatever the cost, we get it done. Obviously, I think, my preference is Jack Grealish. I won't go too much into that. But the two of them, either or, to be honest, despite my my favoritism for Grealish, Maddison is a quality player, and he will add, not just Premier League proven, but also, somebody, like you said, you can rotate with Smith Rowe, somebody Smith Rowe can learn from. There's so many positives to bringing a player like Maddison into the club. And I think I could talk about it forever, but I won't. So please, yes, let's get him signed. Whatever it costs, I don't care. I want to see him in the Arsenal shirt.
Okay. Lottie, your thoughts, Maddison?
Yeah, I want him in an Arsenal shirt. I mean, I've been to Leicester away enough. I've seen Leicester at Arsenal enough. I mean, the last game I saw him live was November before the first lockdown. I think I said this in the last episode. But he made Leno look like an absolute lemon. Leno just stood there. And it was just how one of the goals didn't go in. It was just ridiculous. But yeah, no, I'd have him. ESR would learn so much from him. I don't think it was stunt his development either, long as the rotation is there.
Okay. Which then obviously comes Chris's comment there, just saying Maddison damaged the development of ESR. Mm-hmm. Much like why we ain't going to pay 60 million for someone to sit on the bench. I mean, I'd be the same. I agree. I think you need to have strength and depth. I think you need to have two players in every position that are quality. You look at City, and albeit we don't have European football this season, but you still want to have a squad that is capable of competing in every trophy. And you want to, I mean, Wenger used to play the kids in the Carling Cup, or as it's now called, the Carabao Cup. And it was very much for blood and the youngsters. Same with the UEFA Cup group stages, Champions League group stages was always the youngsters and the squad players to give them the opportunity. Well, City can do that and still win tournaments with their squad players.
Yeah.
And if we want to move forward, that's what we need. We need to have serious players in every position. Two of. So having competition with Maddison and Smith Rowe for that sort of number 10. And Smith Rowe's very versatile in that he can play on the wings as well, or he could drop back a bit deeper and play in the centre of midfield alongside the likes of Partey or, a Basuma or whoever we should get. So he has that option there as well. So, I don't think it would stunt his development. And we'll come on to him in a wee second. Maddison is a statement we have to make if we are serious. Yeah, absolutely. We do need someone like a Maddison. We need a big name player like that. Someone, we need one, possibly two marquee signings. Would you throw an 80 million offer for Grealish and see if they'll take it? Then if they don't, go buy Maddison. Yeah, it's worth a try. I just can't see us getting Grealish. Personally,
they won't accept it. No. They won't accept it, and I think they know his value in this market. I've always said I don't think these players are worth these crazy amounts of money, but this is the market and the world we live in, and they're not going to accept 80 million. And I don't think Grealish will push for the move either. I just can't see him, forcing their hand. So it's worth a try, but yeah, I'd be happy with Maddison.
You say that, G, but I mean, we're going to come on to this now. You say that, he's not worth it in this market, and the Villa know that. Then why are Villa only offering 25 million for this man? because he is worth an awful lot more than 25 million of anybody's money. So again, this was the rumour. Well, it wasn't even a rumour; it was confirmed that they bid 25 million. And I did hear today that they're potentially looking at going back in with a 30 million offer. Which there's two things here. Firstly, why they insult us by offering 25 million? Now I know we go in low when we're going for players, but that's just ridiculous. 25 million for this kid. But the fact that they're potentially going back in for a second offer, do they know something? You know, are we willing to sell Smith Rowe? Have they had some sort of hint that he may be available? I would like to hope not, because I do not want to see Smith Rowe leave the club. And, you know, from all accounts, he's been offered a new 5-year deal, and he may possibly have already signed that. And I hope that's the case, but I do not want to see him go. Lottie, what's your thoughts on Smith Rowe's situation?
I think Aston Villa are damn right insulting us. I mean, how dare they? I mean, he's one of my favourites, so I don't want him to go. He can't go. I mean, there's no Hale boys without ESR. I mean, I know we're considering bringing in people like Maddison, but I don't want to see him go. It's just an insult. And I think if he does go, the whole fan base is going to kick off again. If you think the first protest was big, it's going to get even bigger if we do let him go.
Jay?
You know what? It's one of those where I think sometimes these clubs do it just to annoy us. Like, to be honest, I think sometimes it's just a bit of games and, you know, a bit of politics. I don't quite understand the bid, particularly with the whole, you know, Buendia thing. You know, obviously, you know, we are interested in Grealish. I think, you know, whether or not we sign him, whether or not the transfer is possible, but they clearly Arsenal are interested in signing Grealish. He's an option. He's somebody that they would like to sign. So maybe this is all a little bit of, you know, game of chess, you know, to say, well, look, if you want our star, we want to potentially take one of yours. I don't really know, because, like you said, in this market, he's worth a lot more than 25 million. Huge amount more. You know, I think it would take at least double that to even get anybody's attention. And personally, why would we sell him? It just doesn't make sense. You know, he's one of the players that came into the side, transformed the fortunes of the side. And he's young, he's English, and, you know, we've got to build around him. So for me, I don't really know. I don't really get it. But I think there's more happening behind the scenes that you know than we're actually, you know, aware of. And maybe it will unravel, but I don't think there's any risk of him leaving the club. I think by all accounts he's signed the contract, if not signed it, but, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, announcing it. So it is a bit of disrespect. It's a bit of, you know, it's cheeky from Villa, but I think maybe there's a little bit of bad blood between the clubs, obviously, given, you know, Buendia's situation, Grealish, Smith Rowe. But something's definitely more going on than just them bidding for him. Because for me, like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that bid is just going to get you know, you're not even going to reply to that, are you?
From all accounts, it was laughed off. And
yeah,
the thing with it is, it's another one of those ones. I've seen Villa fans and Leicester fans coming out and sort of making cracks about, you know, why would they downgrade the Arsenal and this sort of thing. And it's like, these fans are trying to create a rivalry where there isn't one. You know, I'm sorry, Villa, Leicester, but you're beneath us. You know, you're not our rivals. We may have had a bad season, but you're not our rivals. And I think the other thing as well, you know, you mentioned there Buendia. I think we have to be honest, you know, Villa fans are saying, oh, you know, they're Buendia picked Villa over Arsenal. Well, he didn't, because for that to have happened, Arsenal would have had to have a bid accepted for him. Mm-hmm. And we didn't. And the fact that we're linked with James Maddison and potentially dropping 60 million on him goes to show that if we'd have wanted to spend the money on Buendia, we could have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, whilst Buendia is a great player and could potentially be a brilliant player, we obviously didn't want them. For better or for worse, we didn't want them. So Villa fans, don't think you're better than us because he signed for yous. We just didn't bid what Norwich wanted because we didn't think he was worth it. It's as simple as that.
Sorry, Stephen. Another thing to remember is that he turned down Barcelona to stay with us. You think he's going to leave us for you? Nah, no chance.
That's true. This is obviously agreed. Keith, Arsenal, Keith, mostly Arsenal, sorry, you pure hate for Villa, don't you? And Keith responded, no one touches ESR, he's golden. Sure, if Madison is worth 80 million, then ESR can't be far off that, if not more, considering his age. Potentially, yeah. I think the only thing with Madison has some England caps and stuff behind him, which drives up his value a bit. Villa need to remember that if it wasn't for a broken referee's watch, they would have played last season in the Championship.
Very true.
Absolutely.
You
know, we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. All right, we'll move on because there's still a few more to go through. One that I seen a link to today for potential 16-17 million pound move is this guy who is Spitzer from RB Leipzig. Plays as sort of he can play as a central striker, but he plays again that sort of attacking midfielder role, can play out in the wing a bit as well. I'll be honest, not one I know an awful lot about. I've seen him play a little bit for Austria. Lottie, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I thought I've seen him play his 5 games for Austria through the Euros. His assist was pretty decent. But other than that, I haven't seen much of him. I don't watch the Bundesliga. But in qualifying, he did did really well. I mean, he had 16 appearances, 3 goals and 6 assists. I feel like he's been a bit quiet, but I think there's also more to see from him. Austria have gone through this afternoon, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's more to see from him. Definitely more to see from him.
Okay. You guys in the chat watching live, if any of you know anything about this guy, please drop it in the comments now. G, what's your thoughts?
You know what? He instantly improves Arsenal starting 11. He's a good player. I'm actually surprised at the fees that have been mentioned for him. I think it's kind of like from what I've seen. I don't know if I'm right, but I've seen about the 17 kind of 20 million pound mark, and I'm quite surprised at that because that's what we're paying for, Lokongo, and that is surprising for me because he's an international based player. He's playing on he's had fantastic seasons at the club he's at in the Bundesliga. He instantly improves this Arsenal side. He gets goals, he gets assists, and he's got some real quality. And I'm really surprised at the potential asking price.
Well, I think it's because, sorry, just Gio, jump in there. I think he has 1 year left in his deal.
Okay,
and he's made it clear that he's not staying. That
makes sense. I think regardless of whether we get Maddison, whether we get Grealish, if we could pick him up for 17 to 20 million, I would just get him as well because I actually think he's a really good player. And I think, his stats, like Lottie said, his stats are really good. But if you watch him play, he's always in and around the goals, always in and around the assists. He's very creative. He's a tough player. And I like the look of him. And I think at that price, I think is an absolute steal if we can pick him up. So yeah, I think he would be a very, very good bit of business. I think playing in the Austrian side, they haven't had a fantastic tournament so far, but they've scraped through. They got a win today, mainly thanks to Alaba, their captain, stepped up. But yeah, for me, I think if we were talking more money, I'd have my reservations. But at 17 to 20 million, yeah, I think we should take that opportunity and get him in. Okay,
excellent. Okay, moving on up the pitch a wee bit more then in the sort of striker role. Another one we've been linked with then I've seen is just bring a picture up here. Andre Silva, the Portuguese international, who I'm trying to think who actually he plays for at the moment. It's gone from my head. Frankfurt.
Is it Leverkusen?
No, I think it's Frankfurt.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
I think he was the second highest goal scorer in Bundesliga last season.
28 goals.
Formerly played AC Milan, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
He looks a real good player, and potentially available for around about 35 million. So I'll come to you first on this one, G. What's your thoughts on him?
You know what? I feel as though, first of all, I feel as though there's got to be a lot of movement up top in order for us to even, go for this player. Having said that, seeing him at Milan, he didn't really settle in. He didn't really do well at Milan. I know he was a big money buy, and I remember when he kind of burst on the scene, there was all this hype about him, and he got a big money move to Milan, and it didn't work out. He didn't look like he could, he looked like even if he had rugby goals, he wouldn't be able to score. For whatever reason, it just didn't work out. And that's always the case with a transfer. There's always that risk that the player just won't settle. He's obviously gone to Stuttgart, and he's prolific. He scored 28 goals in, I think, 32 games. I watched a series of videos about all these goals that he scored this season, the 28. He looks like a very confident penalty taker. Doesn't seem to miss. I think these Portuguese players are really good at penalties. A little hint and a little insult there to Fernandes. So yeah, he's good at a penalty. I've got to say though, I wasn't overly impressed with the type of goals that he scores. They seem to be very much in and around the 6-yard box, and I'm just not sure. I'm just really not sure. 28 goals in 32 games is impressive, regardless of what league you're playing in. Because if we're looking at Aubameyang, I know he was always, in those numbers, in and around those numbers, sometimes less, sometimes more. So he's got quality. He knows where the goal is. But I see him more the kind of poacher in terms of like poaching goals. And I don't feel as though he has enough about his game in order for us to make a big money move for him. I'm looking for, a centre forward that's, got a real physical presence, that's pacey, good in the air. But for me, I feel as though like his biggest quality is his finishing ability, and that's not a disadvantage. But I just think the way Arsenal play, I can just see him getting quite isolated up there. I just don't think he's quite the striker we're looking for. So for me, I wouldn't be against us making a move for him, but I would have some reservations about it. But he clearly knows where the goal is, that's for sure.
Okay. Lottie, Andre Silva, would you like to see him in an Arsenal shirt?
I'm going to have to do a hard pass on that one. I've seen his 2 starts in the Euros, and I'm not exactly, let's get him in an Arsenal shirt. So
it's not been great.
It's a no from me. No, it hasn't.
Short and sweet. Fair enough. Okay. The next one that we'll come on to is this guy at Lazio, Joaquin Carrera, Argentinian international. Rumored to be available sort of in between 30 to 40 million. However, Lazio are interested in potentially Lucas Torreira, so there could be again a deal to be done there with Torreira plus a little bit of cash. We'll come to you first, Lottie.
I've seen him play in Serie A when he comes up against Udinese when I'm watching.
Paul.
Yep, that's it. I completely forgot his name. I mean, he can play on the left wing. He's an attacking midfielder, or he's that second striker. I mean, for that, I love it when players can be like that, because it's just the versatility. I don't have to play in one spot. I mean, he's had 28 appearances this season, 8 goals, 4 assists, and averaging about 243 minutes between each goal, which is what, every third game roughly. Which for a midfielder, I think that's all right. But yeah, no, I'd have him. I'd have him in an Arsenal shirt, definitely. If Torreira does want to stay in Lazio, because he said he wants to go home. He's not been happy for a long time, so definitely potential to be a part of a deal.
Okay. Jay, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think from what I'd seen, he plays predominantly on the kind of left wing, right?
Yeah.
I think he classes himself as a second striker.
Okay.
Playing the second striker role.
Yeah. From what I saw, he seemed to kind of hog the left wing more. From what I saw in terms of positives, he seems to do all these key stuff on the left wing. Really direct, really nippy. Got a trick or two in him. I was quite impressed with the stats. 8 goals across, I think it was 20 odd or close to 30 games. It's not bad. For midfield. When considering our whole midfield, scored 3 goals between them. But for me, it all just depends on, and I know he's not really a midfield, he's more of a winger. But for me, it all depends on what happens in those front positions. I think at the moment, there's a real overload. If I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking Martinelli and Aubameyang on the left, I'm thinking Balogun and Laka in the middle, and I'm thinking Pepe and Saka on the right. So if we just look at that, I can't really see any space for him. So we have to have outgoings in order for us to really be bringing him in. But yeah, he looks a decent player. And I think, if, we know these Italian clubs, they're tight. They don't, that's one of the reasons why Xhaka is still at the club. Do you know what I mean? So I think if they want Torreira and they want to include a player, he's not a bad player to have. At the end of the day, like we said, we need squad depth, and he will definitely give us squad depth. He's not a bad player. He's a good option to have, and I think there will be a lot of movement in those front 6. So who knows? Uber might play more centrally next season, and there might be space, to kind of interchange between him and Martinelli. Who knows? Martinelli might play central next season. We just don't know, but. Decent player. What I saw, he seems quite exciting, quite direct. And I wouldn't be in favor of a big money move for him. But if we could get rid of Torreira and bring him in, and some cash exchanging either way, then why not?
Okay. I'll be honest with you. I mean, looking at him again, he's not one I was overly familiar with, so I had to do my sort of YouTube research and that sort of thing. I'm not sold on him. I just don't know where he would fit in. That's more the point. And so for me, I would probably say I'd pass on him. But then, you know what? I may be wrong. I don't claim to be the most knowledgeable, person in the entire world. But I just don't, as I say, he's one of them players that he just doesn't excite me. So
yeah, I think with the only downside with him is he's a hothead. He's worse than Xhaka, and
right. Okay,
we don't want something like that, but not as bad as Guendouzi. He's somewhere in the middle between them. We've seen them lose their tempers.
Is he Mexican? Where's he from?
He's Argentinian.
Oh, okay.
Argentinian.
So he's part of their squad, I think, at the Copa America at the minute.
Yeah.
Chris, why wouldn't you go buy someone like Danny Ings, Premier League proven forward? And probably that finisher we need, taking the chances our midfield would create. It's an interesting shout. Danny Ings, anybody?
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. It's crossed my mind. It has crossed my mind. I think he's a quality finisher. I know he's not been the luckiest with regards to injuries in his career. I think that's what kind of put to bed his Liverpool career when he was there. But that Southampton team, I believe it's Southampton he plays for. That Southampton team, they're a whole different kettle of fish when he's in the side. So he massively improves them. In terms of where we are and in terms of our ambitions, I've got my reservations just in terms of the injury history. I know I'm not saying he's old, but I think is he approaching 30 or around the 30 mark in terms of age. So if we could pick him up on a free, or we could pick him up really, with not much of a transfer fee, then I'd say why not? But again, I just think right now we need to see some players leave, because we've got an abundance of forward options, and I don't think all these forward options are the options we want. Because of the 6 I named there, I didn't even mention Willian, who's still somehow earning a living at our club. So that's seven players that can play. 28. Okay, it's not bad. But yeah, that's 7 players that are vying for 3 positions. So, and I didn't even mention Eddie. So that's 8. We need to start shifting out some of these players before we can even think of bringing in, Isak, or, the Swedish striker that we've spoken about in the last show, or Danny Ings, or whether it's Eduard or whoever else it is. We need to start selling some of our forwards. But I don't think Arsenal are looking at him, to be honest.
Okay. Lottie, anything to add, or are you happy enough to move on?
Yeah, it's not for me.
Okay.
We'll just leave it at that.
Okay. We're nearly at the end. I have one more player potentially outgoing and one more potential incoming. And we're going to cover them both at the same time. And there is a reason for that. So the potential outgoing is Alexander Lacazette. I have seen linked with moves away, potentially Juve, Atletico, Monaco, and Lyon, all interested in him. And again, the links just won't go away to the man on the other side, Houssem Aouar, the French. Well, he's not the current French number 8, but he is French and he plays at number 8. And for me, I would do whatever it takes to get him at the club. So there is a potential swap deal to be done here. From all accounts, Lyon are prepared to let him go for anything sort of 20 to 25 million. And we could get 20 to 25 million for Lacazette. They want Lacazette. We want Aouar. I've seen reports that we've offered him a 5-year deal. And it's just now agreeing a deal with Lyon. Again, we will say these are all rumours and we take them all with a pinch of salt, but we enjoy talking about them. For me, that is a swap deal that I would break their hand for. Lottie, what's your thoughts?
It's a hard one. I mean, I adore Lacazette. I'm being sentimental again, but I adore him. I mean, the amount of times he's kind of sort of saved our bacon, so to speak. But he's got a year left on his contract now, so I think it'd be worth cashing in for him. I don't want to see another good Arsenal player leave for free. I'm sick of that happening. Thank you, Sophie.
Yeah, well, what about Aouar? I mean, would you want him in?
Yeah, no, definitely. From what I've seen of him, I think he'll be great in an Arsenal shirt. I mean, we've been linked to him before. Yeah. But yeah, definitely would have him. But Lacazette, and if we can cash in on him, and if it saves money.
You guys watching live, what's your thoughts on this potential swap deal, Jay?
I would be all over this. Like, literally, I'm sorry. You know what? I don't want to disrespect Lacazette, but he had a fantastic season. He really did. But when we signed him, I was over the moon. I watched him at Lyon, and he just looked like the real kind of predatory striker that we needed. And I despite his season that he's had, I still can't help but have to be honest and say he's not the player that he never really fulfilled his potential at Arsenal. So for me, given his age and the form he's in, now is the right time to get rid of him. And I feel really bad saying that, because in a way he was our top goal scorer. So why would we be thinking about selling him? But I think we need to look at the squad, and I think midfield is our weakest area. And if we could get a swap deal, I think at the end of the day, we need quality in midfield. And when I coincide that with the idea that, in my opinion, Lacazette is replaceable. So, and I think quite easily replaceable without being disrespectful. I think there are a lot of options out there that we could bring in terms of strikers that could do what he's done this season, and can even do better. So for me, it's a swap deal that I'd be all over. I think Houssem Aouar is a fantastic player. And I'm just dreaming about a midfield of Partey, Aouar, and Maddison. I'm just like, that is just absolutely mouth-watering prospect. So no disrespect to Laka. As much as I feel a little sentiment as well, given the season, he's had with Arsenal, but we need to move on to bigger and better things. And I think this potential swap deal would be that. And I think Houssem Aouar is the type of player we need to have at our club. But I do believe that Lacazette is replaceable, and I think now is the best time to cash in on him. So, if he goes to Lyon and Aouar comes to Arsenal, happy days for me.
Okay. A couple of comments saying, Keith, all day long, I love Laka being sentimental like Lottie, but yes, I'd take this. Liam, I would be all over that deal. And Weezy J, they need to make it happen. You can put him on the left wing, Maddison in the centre, Pepe or Saka on the right. They will boss the midfield. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It is a deal that I would be 100% on board for. Again, I stress, there are rumours. This whole show is about rumours, and you can believe what you want and not believe what you want. NDB30 TV, even though Laka is liked by the youngsters and they do look up to him, he can still do a job. Only sell if we upgrade on him. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's kind of it. Just in terms, of what I have. If there's anybody we've missed and you just want to talk about it, drop it in the comments, and I will come back to them in a wee minute. I did have something else planned for tonight, which I didn't get time to type it all up. Which was, I have basically taken on the role of Edu and created what I think is a reasonably good squad, a reasonably good squad. I've worked out transfers based on all the rumours we've seen all summer on incomings and outgoings. I've factored in costs, how much we would get for players going out, how much it would cost to bring players in, and I've put together what I believe is a good squad that would at least get top four, could potentially push. And I wanted to have that all typed up and sort of go through it with you. But I'll maybe do it for next week, or we could potentially do a whole show on it. If anybody's interested in sort of having that conversation, we'll look at doing a show on it maybe some night, and I'll share it with you. But it was interesting because I overhauled the entire squad, and it cost net less than 100 million.
Wow.
Nice.
To dramatically overhaul the entire squad. So, and that was changing almost 50% of the squad in one window. And I could do it for less than 100 million net.
Wow.
So, it shows it can be done. And if Eddie doesn't do it, I'm having his job, because I'm not taking nonsense. I get it done. Okay. So if anybody else has any other players that we want to talk about that we have been linked to that I've maybe missed, or if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the chat now. G, do you want to talk about when we'll be back this week?
Yeah, so Wednesday. So obviously tomorrow night, we touched upon it at the beginning of the show. England will be taking on Czech Republic in their last group game. So we will be live on Wednesday at 9 p.m, I believe, to do the review of that show. Obviously, we'll be talking about the result, going through the starting lineup, match incidents, etc., etc. And that will be episode 3 of our 3 Lions Road to Wembley. We'll also be talking about, obviously, the ramifications of the result, who will be potentially playing in the next round. So please do join us Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Look out for, obviously, we'll be advertising the show over the next kind of day or two. So yeah, look forward to that show. Do you want me to run through the socials right now while I'm here? Or
No.
Okay.
Lottie's going to do that.
No worries.
We've lost that bit for. So yeah, Wednesday night, and then obviously back next Monday night with another Rumour Mill.
Yeah.
We may potentially, as I say, if it's something you're interested in, we could maybe factor in maybe Friday night or something. I'll do the squad overhaul show with one of you or whatever, and we can talk about that. But we'll see. Lottie, take it away with the socials.
Okay, right. Thank you, everybody in the chat that's tuned in for tonight. If you want to come and find us on Facebook, it's Cannon Chatter, or on Instagram, it's Cannon_Chatter. You can also find all of us on Twitter. The channel account is obviously Cannon Chatter. If you want to follow Stephen, it's SB Cannon Chatter, or if you want to follow G, it's G Talks Arsenal, or if you want to follow me, it's Lottie_B with 2 I's. And also, you can also go and check out my blog if you ever want to relive the wonderful second half of last season. My blog's all sitting there waiting for you to read. Make sure you subscribe and turn that notifications button on and hit the like button. Thank you for tuning in.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, as I say, any last questions, drop them in now. We have got one there. So far, Weezy J, do you think Arteta should have gone for Depay? We talked about this on one of the early Rumour Mill shows. Was it all three of us, or was it?
I think it might have been on the first one.
I think it might have been on the one that you actually were a guest on, Lottie, before you joined us full time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think that sounds familiar.
Yeah. And I think the sort of overall feeling was he wasn't really for us.
Yeah.
Don't get me, he's a good player. He's definitely better. He's a better player now than he was when he left United. But I just, again, I don't think he's cut out for the Premier League. That's my personal feelings on it. You guys feel any different?
No, I completely agree with you, as always.
You know what it is? It's like, and I'm not saying you're saying this, Weezy J, at all. But I think sometimes, with fans, we're watching the Euros and we see a player get a couple of goals and good performance, and we want them, obviously get excited, and we think, oh, it was on a free transfer. But I don't think, I personally, even though I think we discussed, the potential, transfer or rumour, I don't think he was ever going to come back to the Premier League, to be honest. I think the whole experience at United, I think kind of, made that kind of plan dead in the water. I think Champions League was really important to him as well. And I think he kind of reached that point in terms of his age and his career where I think he didn't really want to eat. I think he just wanted to kind of slot into, a team that is going to be kind of challenging, straight away. So not completely convinced by him as well. I must say, I think Holland have been very impressive in the Euros. He's played well, but he's a bit hit and miss. If I'm honest, you can, in one game he can look like an absolute world beater. And then in another game, he can not look great at all. So not for me, really, but decent player for sure.
Okay. Coming back to the hair. So if anybody's tuning in and missed it, I did say earlier on that if we hit 500 subs by 13th of August, I was about to say October, 13th of August, when the season starts, I will bleach my hair, which seems to be the trend at the minute. And then a couple of other comments. G had said he'd do it if he got 1,000, and then somebody said for Lottie to shave her head if she got 2,000. Keith, I've been growing my hair for nearly a year, but if you hit 2k subs, I'll shave my barnet to save Lottie. Fair enough. Will you bleach it if we hit 1,000 to save G? And I will say, Keith, much as I love you, I'm so glad that you shaved that beard down a wee bit because it was getting a bit scraggly looking.
We need to start pushing this, Lottie.
Yeah, you need to send me the clip. Email me the clip. Once you do the snippets, email me the clip when that stuff is going out.
Yeah, we need to start pushing it. No, I'm gonna literally do the snippets, and we need to just get this retweeted, shared, just go nuts on Twitter because I want to see him. I want to see him with the Gaza
as well.
With the Gaza look. And you know what? If we hit 1,000 subs, I'll happily do it. I might even do a bleach watch along. Do it live.
But question is, are you going to do the beard as well? That's the question.
Yeah, I'd just go the whole whack, man. Do it all.
Yeah, go all out.
I'll be honest. I'll go and get it done properly. I'll go and get it done properly, and I'll record it. I'll make a video of it, and I'll upload it.
Yeah, brilliant.
I will do it. Chris, I think as fans, we see players signing for free, and we just think, why couldn't we got them? You could throw in the Milan keeper who's leaving for PSG for free as well. Yeah, but I don't think we ever stood a chance of getting Donnarumma.
No.
You know, so yeah. Okay. That's it. Unless anybody has anything else very, very quickly. All that's sort of left to say is thank you for tuning in. If you've been watching live, we appreciate the support so much. If you're watching this later on, again, we appreciate your support as well. Make sure and subscribe. Drop a like on the video. And you guys will be back on Wednesday night to talk about the 3 sea lions on a shirt.
Steven, stop that. Stop that.
I'm saying nothing.
Oh, mate. 3 sea lions, you know. He's taking a mick.
Jay, sort him out.
I know, man. I know. It's not good. It's not good. It's 3 lions road to Wembley. That's the show.
Sorry.
Okay?
Sorry. You guys will be back on Wednesday night with 3 lions road to Wembley. And we may be back later on in the week, but if not, we will definitely be back next Monday night with another Rumour Mill.
Yeah.
Jay, any last words?
No, just another quick shout out to all the dads in the world that are doing their thing, and obviously all the single mums as well, you know, that are doing their thing, you know, with regards to absent fathers. I know me and Stephen had a really nice weekend. I actually said to Lottie before I came on the air, I'm feeling really, really, really tired, and I can't actually wait to hit the pillow because obviously went out yesterday, celebrated, you know, with, you know, family and friends, had a couple of berries and that, maybe too many. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going to bed and getting a good night's sleep. But yeah, no, just a massive shout out to, you know, and everyone, you know, not just, you know, dads or single mom, just all the guys that, you know, regularly tune in. It's so nice, like, to kind of see the same faces and obviously new faces, you know, pop up in the comments and just tune into all our shows. You know, I think it's just really nice. It's something that I think when me and Stephen started, and obviously since recruiting Lottie, but it's just such a pleasure doing these shows and seeing, you know, these guys, you know, watch, you know, show in, show out, and just massively support us. So our mission is to get those 500 subs so we can see Stephen bleach that hair. And you know what? If we get the 1,000, like I said, I'll happily do it. I won't have no problem at all. But yeah, just massive thank you to everyone who tunes in, and, you know, have a good evening, guys. Stay safe.
Lottie, any last words?
Yeah, just thank you for tuning in as always. I mean, I know I managed to rope in Wheezy J a couple of weeks ago. He's not left us, and also I've managed to get Liam to watch tonight. So welcome, guys. Make sure you subscribe.
Brilliant. And sorry, just the last word on Wednesday night. I believe you have 3 guests lined up to be on with you.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a bit of a global feel from what I've been told. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, that's kind of it. Great show again, you lot. Much love to you, Keith. And if anybody doesn't, go over and subscribe to Keith's channel as well, mostly Arsenal. You will get a great laugh. He's building that wee channel. Once he gets that going, I know me and Keith have plans. We're going to do something else for a bit of fun. We have another wee channel planned that we're going to do in the future. But we'll let you into that in the future whenever the time's right. So on that, I will say good evening. Best of luck to England tomorrow night. You guys enjoy your show on Wednesday night, and I will see you next week.